listed. In both the professional, but also in the personal life when we're working for this project. Also very important to maintain high standards in terms of honesty, professionalism, and respect towards everyone, like every respondent, every community member with whom we might interact. Then the second principle is the commitment to respondents. So all participants and respondents who we are going to approach in the data collection, we have to ensure that they are safe and respect and keep their dignity. As a basic human right, that's something very important and key. So it's prohibited to do any harmful action that can be abuse, exploitation, intimidation, discrimination. This list is just like a short list. There are more, of course, more actions that are prohibited. I think that's quite obvious. And instead, like, we should try to treat everyone with respect, fairness, and also culturally sensitive. But yeah, I think you're the experts also in this regard. I guess you know how to do it. Then third is reporting vulnerabilities. So if you might face any situation that may harm or endanger any of the respondents, it's your responsibility to report this to the C4D and CIVA team. And this includes risks that might be linked to participants being part of the research, taking part in the surveys, but also external circumstances that are not directly related to our research. Then fourth is protecting health, safety, and rights. That includes safeguard the well-being of all staff, of all participants, as we said before, but also that includes communities in which we will go to conduct the research. Promote human rights and also environmental protection, and any criminal or unethical practices. Either conducted of the staff members, but also outside of staff members. Then fifth is minimizing stress and distress. This also comes back to how to conduct and behave with the respondents. So, and leading a respondent. In the same way, it's important to monitor and be cautious, but also then, in case, to respond to any signs of discomfort. When we're talking about children, and we will talk about this later today in the afternoon, you might know that children, it's different to conduct an interview with children compared to teenagers, right? And there might be different signs of discomfort for both of them. So we need to be aware of this. Then also lastly, create a safe and supportive environment during the actual data collection. And sixth is accountability. So you will be provided with certain equipment, information such as names of participants of centers, maybe money, other resources when going to the field. And you have to use all of this responsibly. And be also transparent and accountable for all professional actions that you do during the research. We will touch in more detail some of these aspects also during the day. But yeah, just as a summary here. What are examples of the breach of these principles of code of conduct? For instance, and again, this list is not exhaustive, just putting some examples here that you have an idea. An example of a breach could be sharing responded information without confidentiality. That can happen in different ways. For instance, putting names of respondents in like open chat communications instead of using maybe the ID, which doesn't have the name. Another example is making false promises to secure compliance. And as we said before, any type of abuse, harassment, exploitation, and others. Also, an example of a breach would be covering up the misconduct in this regard by other team members. So if you recognize other team members are breaching the code of conduct and you're not reporting but try to cover up and protect, that's also and would be an example of breach of conduct. Now, when we're looking at breach of conduct, for instance, with regards to confidentiality and data protection, I just wanted to go over this quickly because it's also quite important. So why do we need data protection? Data protection is necessary because any breach, any again, cause an identity theft, for instance, might cause shame or financial or emotional harm to the respondent of whom data has been stolen or being available for anyone not authorized. How this can happen is, for instance, a device or a document which includes names, phone numbers, whatever, is stolen or lost. But also, as I said before, like sending this information to wrong persons who are not authorized to have it, or any other kind of unauthorized access or attacks. When talking about data that needs to be protected, we're mostly or mainly referring to two types of data that needs to be protected. And this is first PII, so-called personally identifiable information, which can come in the form of direct identifiers, which would be a name or a phone number. But it also can come in the form of indirect identifiers. Indirect identifiers are characteristics such as a rare event in combination with others, such as location. So for instance, if we would have the information that a household has, let's say, 13 or 14 children and is located in a certain village, then you might quite likely know to whom this refers to, because it's a rare event in a small village, for instance. So that's also something that is worth protecting and needs to be protected. And then the second type is sensitive data. So any information that we're going to collect relating to, for instance, health, is instead of using PII, so instead of using a name of a respondent, for instance, in discussions or also maybe when communicating via WhatsApp with a team, never use PII, but instead always use the ID. So every center, every household and child will have an ID that you can use in order to communicate. So that if in case something gets stolen, they would not wouldn't get the name or any PII, but the ID, which doesn't have PII. Also very important to always end an interview on a positive note and share challenges in the daily team debriefs during data collection. And then a last point on data protection is about data storage in the field, just to give you an idea of how this will be done. So any data that you're going to collect will be encrypted on the data collection platform, Service CTO, before transferring it to the server. So that's the first step of protecting data on the device. However, therefore, we must adhere to the following, and that is each device must be locked, so either by a PIN or a fingerprint. So each device needs to be locked. Each device needs to be securely stored. So for instance, if you're traveling or during night, don't leave the devices in an open space, for instance, but store them safely, securely. And also sync the devices on a daily basis. Synchronization on a daily basis is important to send all the collected data to the server so then that they're safe and it can't be lost later on. Okay, are there any questions so far on the code of conduct, on the data protection, anything so far? Or is it clear?
For everyone, just everything is clear.
Okay, thanks. As I said, we will have a bit more time to go over this in more detail next week. But here you already heard about the principles and the main points.
Yes.
Is there a question or? Innocent, can I move on? Or is there a question?
We can move on.
Okay. Now, before coming to the survey tools, just here you can see a summary of supervisor responsibilities. So as you know, you as the supervisors, you will be, maybe the key part of the whole fields team. You will be guiding the teams during the data protection and all daily activities, and you will have some very important key responsibilities. Can I move on?
So there is a link just we need to share, just for screening just with the camera.
Okay, shall I wait a minute for you to set up?
Yes.
Okay, no worries. In a sense, so Ethan just shared with me a link to a YouTube live stream, but I can only see maybe 3 of the supervisors, or maybe 4. Is there a way maybe to rearrange the camera so you can see everyone?
Yeah. So then you can just open it just if you want to see everyone here.
Yes, I can see 3 of the supervisors, I guess.
Yes.
I can't see like the ones who are sitting right behind you. Yeah, no, no, it's good, no, it's good. Zoom out a bit. That's good, I guess.
Then I think you can just continue.
Okay. All right, perfect. Then before, as I said, before coming to the survey tools, I wanted to give you an introduction to the responsibilities that you will have as a supervisor. And as I said, like you will play the key role of all field staff members during the data collection. So yeah, really rely on your good work and hard work. And in order to prepare for this, I just want to go over your responsibilities here a bit. So also to open the room for your questions in case there are any. So you will, as a supervisor, you will be responsible for supervising and coordinating 2 teams in the field. So we have 6 supervisors, and then we have 12 teams. So that means everyone has 2 teams to coordinate and supervise during the data collection. An important part is making appointments with the centers a few days in advance and arranging a replacement center if needed. So we will have a script that you will read out to the center when calling them 2 to 3 days in advance to make an appointment. As part of the script, we have some basic questions about whether the center is still operational and others that we will look at later. But just like there is a clear protocol on when the center needs to be replaced. For instance, if it's no longer operational, right? So this is really key. A few days before the scheduled visit, according to the field plan, you will have to call each center and make an appointment. Then the next point is about the tracking sheet. So we will have a tracking sheet, which is basically a shared Excel file that you will have access to. That it has the list of all centers per supervisor, and then at the end of each day, you will indicate and update the sheet to indicate the status of the center. So for instance, if on a specific day, your teams have completed 2 centers, so each team has completed 1 center, you go to the tracking sheet and you mark those 2 centers as completed. Also, in case there might be delays, then you also have to indicate this in the tracking sheet, saying that it might be rescheduled maybe to 2 days later or whatever, you know. So this is the tracking sheet that you see here. Then the next point is about data quality, and this is something with your experience from the phone service you already know. So we will have a similar system that we already set up in the phone survey data collection, which means in the background we are running some checks on the data that you will submit, or the teams will submit. And in case we find any inconsistencies or issues, such as a duplicated center ID or some inconsistencies, we will follow up with you for your feedback and correction. And this will be done by my colleague Lady K1, which you already know from the phone service probably. And you as a supervisor will be responsible for following up with your sub-teams. So if you recognize that in our feedback there's some questions on data submitted from one of your teams, then you recognize this in the feedback and you follow up with your team. You follow up with the sub-team, the enumerator, to check if what happened and correct if needed. Then in addition, you will be responsible for conducting backcheck and spot check surveys. The backcheck survey is basically the same as the structured quality checklist that we will look at later, that is redone in a subset of treatment centers. In addition to the backcheck surveys, there is a spot check survey, which you will also do on a daily basis. It's not a long survey, it's just like making some observations on how the team, how the enumerators are behaving, if they are adhering to the protocols, etc. And then lastly, share any relevant observations, any relevant feedback, obstacles, or other relevant information that are coming up during the supervision of your teams with both the SIBA management and C30 team. Okay, so this sums up your key responsibilities. Again, we will also have a bit more time next week to go through this in detail. But are there any questions from your end on these responsibilities, on any of these?
So I think we can move on.
Okay.
But if we don't have anything for now to add, we can just take a break.
Sure. Let's do 15 minutes break. That's fine?
Yes, fine.
Okay, then enjoy your break, enjoy the coffee, whatever you have available back there, and then we resume at 10:20, 20 past 10.
Yes.
Okay, see you.
See you.